Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And again, yet again, I brought another fantastic guest. But before we get to him, I just want to show off some stuff. Whoop. This is from Odin. This is an awesome book. This is Elysian Fields. He just sent it over. I stole this one from Daphne. This is actually her copy, so don't tell anybody. All right, but she might be watching. But that's her copy. But and the other thing, this is mine though. This came from him as well. Look at that. That's a pretty awesome coin that came along with the book. I don't know if he has any more of those, but they're mine. They're awesome. Hold on, let me just put these over here. And for the Oswald Chronicles in my current campaign, I got a couple of stickers. This one is to go on the boxes. And in this one, it's just an extra one I'm just giving away. That wasn't even a stretch goal. That's just one I'm just going to send out to everybody. So anyway, enough about, and hit subscribe. Let everybody know we're here. And without further ado, here's our awesome guest. Whoop, whoop, Mr. Brian Rodman.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hold on, let's do this. How you doing, Brian?
Oh, doing good.
That's good. That's good.
How about yourself?
Trying to avoid insanity, but I don't think I'm doing a very good job of it.
You know what, man? Insanity looks bad on people. Just embrace the crazy. That's what I do. I think it works well for you.
Yeah.
Makes you look unique, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes. Everybody has their own special kind of crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the nice way of saying that person's nuts.
Whatever, it's all good. All right, so Brian, this is I think number 2 for us on the one-on-one. So all the basic stuff is out the window.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have to start getting into more complicated questions. Ooh. Like oh yeah, like what type of pizza do you really like?
Oh, I will kill people that put pineapple on it.
Okay, there
we go.
No, so your current campaign, which is an awesome book, Memoirs of an Angel, the Gray Pilgrim. I dig that. Yeah. Number 7, Memories and Nightmares, long title. Mm-hmm. I dig long titles. I have those too. So let me ask you. I mean, obviously, I have the first 6 issues and the 0 issue. Which of course I've only read I think the 0 issue because I have a read pile about as tall as me, if not twice as tall.
Yeah, man, I'm the same way. Exactly. Actually, it's I'm just going to plug this really quick. I'm on a show every Thursday on the Rising Tide Network called Comic Book Spectrum with Brian K. Morris, Clyde Hall, and Eric Hawkins. Because of that show, we review comics now. Because of that show, I'm finally going through my huge stack of comics that have just been looking at me and judging me for the last 2 years. So finally I have a reason that's you better do this or you won't have anything to talk about. I totally get it, man.
Yeah, you sit there, you're like, oh damn, and then all I ever do is just add to it.
I know. Yeah, it's just like, oh, this looks good on Kickstarter, and meanwhile the rest of my books are just like, what are you doing over there?
Says, what do you mean you're adding another omnibus? Jesus.
Right. It's like, man, my wife and I have a deal now where if she catches me reading something that's not on our approved list that I'm currently going, she'll walk over and smack it out of my hands and be like, go read something on the list. It's very helpful for me because otherwise I just wander around and pull books out and start reading them. Right.
Well, at least she doesn't take you and beat you with them.
That's the next step, I think.
That's the next step.
That's where we're headed. Yeah. If I don't learn my lesson, she's just gonna have to beat me upside the head.
Gotcha. So walk me a little bit through it. I mean, what was the genesis of Memoirs of an Angel?
Oh man. So I know just to kind of give you the briefer version that I've given other people in the past, just for the sake of our audience here. I've always been drawn to supernatural stories, and being a Christian, I've obviously I love my faith. It's the most important thing about me, or to me as well. And so I guess I really wanted a good story. I was looking out there, as a comic fan, as just a huge nerd, there wasn't really a lot out there, that kind of blended those two worlds together well. Most of it was just family friendly, cheesy stuff. And I was like, man, I want something like epic, something cool. I dig the horror genre. I really wanted something like that. And after years of looking and searching and not finding anything, I mean, I went to Bible college to go into vocational ministry for a time. And so whenever I would, most of the time in studying this stuff, my mind would just automatically be drawn to Memoirs of an Angel. It was always this constant story building in the back of my mind. And through those years of just doing that, this huge world was created in my mind. And the using the Christian mythos and biblical theology and doctrine as the world building tools, it's essentially similar to what Mike Mignola does did with Hellboy BPRD. It's he pulled folklore and everything from all over the world, different countries, and crafted a story out of it that was original and fun. And that's what I'm doing, with the biblical, Christian mythos as well, is just pulling from my faith and really telling what I think is a really good horror fantasy story that is about as close to Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist as you could possibly get. It has that crazy demonic horror in it, as well as just the high fantasy world building, and just even the look of some of the angelic costumes and things like that are very Lord of the Rings high fantasy. So yeah, man, that was really what got it all going. As far as the inspiration and the practicality of getting going was all my wife when it all came down to it. It was 2015. I went to a Comic-Con. I was published in my first anthology, and it was being sold at this Comic-Con. And that was cool. I was walking around. I was like, oh, I have a book. This is really cool. I signed an autograph. It was weird. and I sat on a few panels and just listened to indie creators talk about what it meant to actually do this for a living, what to do this professionally. And man, it sparked something. I mean, I came home and I said, what? I told Robin, because Robin had heard we'd been together for a while. We were married at this point. I had been married for a couple years, and I told her, I said, I think I really want to do Memoirs of an Angel. Finally do it. She said, thank you, because you're either going to do it and I'll help you do it, or you're going to shut up about it. And that was, and it was the tough love that I needed to get this thing going and get it off the ground. And then after that, it was a couple years of, trudging through, how do you make a comic? What are the tools you need? And now we're in a sweet spot, man. It's just, I just got going and learned as I went, and it's going pretty well so far.
Now, were you the type you were just constantly talking her up about it? You were just constantly
all the time. And I would tell her all these different stories and different things. She had no context, right? Like it was just like what it would pop in my head. I'm like, and this is what I would do with this. And she's like, okay. And she's like, she would sometimes connect the dots, and she'd be like, that's pretty cool. But then finally, when I was just like, I would draw I started to draw pages and different things like that sporadically. And finally, it was just a come to Jesus meeting where she was just like, all right. Because she's a great businesswoman. She's excellent business guru. And she did. She helped me, figure out how to turn this thing into an actual business, how to move it forward. And together we've, we're on issue 7. She has this last campaign was the first one that she was really, hands off with. I kind of, we hired somebody out to do some basic graphics for the campaign on the Kickstarter page based on things we've done in the past. And this campaign, I was able to pretty much do about 90% of all the work. Because at this point, this is our 4th one, and so we're comfortable with it. And but she was great. She was patient. And but yeah, together we've made, this is now the 7th issue of the series.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty exciting.
Now 7 issues in, right? 4 campaigns in.
Yeah.
What's the most valuable lesson you think you've learned?
Oh man, just now, like what do you mean by that?
We'll break it down into 2 parts, right? So what's the most valuable thing you think you've learned doing a campaign, like
Okay.
having to like fulfill all this stuff. I mean, you know the grind that we all go through.
Oh
So
yeah.
what's the most valuable lesson you think you've learned?
I think that I've learned has been promoting during the
Mm,
campaign, different creative ways to promote things that are gonna fight those algorithms
right.
and figure
Yeah.
out creative ways to get people's attention. I mean, I think that's just been in any kind of marketplace setting, any kind of Comic-Con setting, that's the name of the game. And
Mm,
you don't want to, especially on social media, you don't want to come across too spammy, because that's annoying and gets on people's
right.
nerves, and that's not what we're here for. But at the same time, we are trying
Mm,
to make a living. We're trying to give people something that we can then in turn get paid for, and keep doing it. So
mm,
money is important in this
yeah.
process. So yeah, no, I think that's just been it, though, is just learning how to promote well, leading up to a campaign,
Mm.
during the campaign, after the campaign's over, and then in between campaigns. So it's
Right.
just and it's different strategies for all of them, and they are ever changing. I think that is probably the biggest lesson I've learned. I think the biggest lesson, sidebar, I think the biggest lesson that a lot of people need to learn, that
Mm,
thankfully we learned it well before we launched a Kickstarter, was build your fan base first.
right.
um, is build a fan base, have a good core group of people that are going to show up every time and that you can count on. And once you have that, build off of that. But don't try to go for the don't try to throw the football over the mountain when you don't have anybody around you. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
you're
Right.
just going to set yourself up for failure.
Very true. Now, what's the most important thing you've learned creatively? And we'll
Oh
break it down. One is a writer, one is an artist, because he's doing both.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
what's the thing what's the thing creatively you learned as an artist first?
As an artist, probably the man, I would say pushing myself with color palettes and
Mm,
different angles in line work.
right.
I think that, and just how clean you can get line work to be as a finished
Mm,
product. I think that has been the biggest lessons that I've learned. You were kind enough in your review video to say, and a lot of people have said, that from issue 1 to issue
mm,
6, there's been a lot of improvement. And really,
right.
it's just the grind. I think you do
Mm,
something every day for your whole life. Especially if you're pumping out issues of a comic series, you draw the same characters, the same stuff every day, you're going to get good at it.
right.
And so I think that, but that is, I always each issue I try to push myself in a specific way. And a lot of it, I think a lot of it's been with color and different, just different angles, getting perspectives more
Mm,
correctly done, and then dialogue. Really,
right.
learning that dialogue is a part of the art, and you need
Mm,
to learn where you're going to place the dialogue balloons during the page layout.
mm,
Issue 1, I was not thinking any of that stuff. I
right.
did on some pages, but like now, that's the first thing in my head when I'm plotting out a page. Where are the dialogue balloons going to go, and how can
Mm,
you fit them in a creative way?
okay, cool. Now, as a writer,
Mhm.
what's the most important lesson you've learned?
Finding my voice,
Mm,
and not just trying to sound like somebody else that you love and look up to.
right.
I know that, 'cause that's, as writers, that's where we all start. We start,
Mm,
mimicking other, and artists too, mimicking other
yeah.
people that we look up to, and that's good. That's fine.
Mm,
That's how we start. That's how we learn. But getting away from that and finding your own voice, that even no matter what story you write, it can be different with the different characters, different books, whatever, but it's all, people can always read something and recognize you behind all of that
mm.
stuff. I think that's the thing that I'm striving for as a writer. And I think I've made some improvement along the way, but I know I have a lot more to go.
Now, what was the writer you most struggled from getting away from?
Probably mostly Neil Gaiman,
Mm,
in Sandman,
right.
specifically.
It's
That
not
is,
necessarily not necessarily a
Yeah.
bad thing.
It's
Not necessarily bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, Neil Gaiman, Mike Mignola, those are kind of
Mhm.
my two go-to guys for comics. And so, Sandman and Hellboy are my all-time favorite series.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I think a blend of those two guys with a mixture of Brian Rodman is my voice right now.
Okay.
And I guess like, not that I'm trying to like not sound like them intentionally, but I just do want to
Mhm.
continue to build my own unique voice in the comic book industry.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Now, artistically, who's the person, like, whose leg you kept, rubbing up against? Who who you trying to get away from?
Two people consistently, and again,
Mhm.
it's started off with people that I look up to, and now just kind of taking from that. You're still always going to be able to see that there.
Right.
And that's Mike Mignola and Bruce Timm are
Okay.
probably the two
Mhm.
my two biggest artistic inspirations, and just 90s 80s 90s like Don Bluth animation in general.
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
that, and that's, Bruce Timm worked on those teams as well, so I think that
Mhm.
that really is kind of where in my head, that's where all of my artwork starts, and by the time it gets out of my pen, it's just some conglomeration of those things and me.
Mhm.
But I do enjoy kind of testing line work, pushing myself, and I think in those moments where you are really trying to not copy somebody else's style, but to pull from it and then push yourself, that's where you find your own style. And
Gotcha.
I think that's what I've learned the last few issues.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. Fair enough. Um. Now, talking about, like, what is it, promoting yourself,
Yeah.
right? Where do you find your greatest support comes from? Do you think you're getting your greatest support, like, I don't know if you have a mailing list, or if you're just using your prior mailing list from other campaigns, or from shows like this?
Yeah.
Where do you think you're getting, like, your biggest hits from?
Yeah, I know that mostly it's going to be Facebook and my email list that I
Hmm.
get. All of, I mean, we before actually every campaign we've done now so far, we have done an event page where we invite everybody, and
Right.
we're pretty interactive leading up to the campaign, and then we do a Facebook live and we launch
Hmm.
live. The people that show up there on Facebook, they are the ones who are on Facebook, are on the
Hmm.
email list, show up from in the comments section on the shows.
Right.
So they kind of just spread out across all the social media and the email list as well. And
Mm.
that's my core group. But along the way, you do shows like this. You get involved with different social media, community groups, and kind of look at each other's artwork. Talk up the campaign, and you pick up a few people there that join the list as well. But mostly, yeah, I would say above all, Facebook is the primary source
Mm.
of where I get a lot of my interaction, and a lot of those folks will then go to my email list, especially these days where there's no Comic Cons to
Right.
really go to at the moment. So,
Hmm.
but I know a lot of folks that have signed up on the email list that we've met at cons. Also, it's kind of the reverse. We'll meet at cons. They'll sign up on the email list, and then they'll follow me
Hmm.
on social media. So it's it all kind of comes back though to Facebook. That seems to be the main place.
Gotcha. Now, are you taking out Facebook ads?
We've done that in the past. It really didn't do
Mm.
anything for us.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that might just be because we're not, I don't know, we're looking more into that, but we
Mhm.
found really just alternative ways, just really like getting out there and talking to people on social media has actually worked a lot more than Facebook ads themselves.
Mm.
So I mean, we will probably do a little more research, because I think the first couple times that we've done them, we probably didn't utilize them as best we could. So there's more growth that we
Right.
definitely not knocking Facebook ads at all, because I think it was just user error. We didn't really utilize it in the way that we could have. So we're going to revisit that in the future.
Yeah, there is a funky way to set it up so that you get the right groups in, and you're like,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
this, and okay, we'll focus this group, and
Right.
it is a little weird. Yeah, I found we've had limited success on our end, but we have had some success. This is not like huge.
Right, right, yeah. And I mean, we might have had. I think when we followed the statistics and everything that they showed us after the ad was over, and I think like a few people clicked, and then like of those people, one or two followed us on the website, and that was about it. So
all right, well, that's cool. Now all right, we'll go for this one.
Oh. That's always good. All right, we'll go for this one. We'll see what happens.
Go for this. Well, exactly. We'll see what happens. Say, no, it's because it's funny. It's 2020 was such a cluster, right?
Oh, very much so, sir. Yes.
Right. So it's one of those. It's just because I was asked this question. It was just, and what's funny is, despite how miserable 2020 was, I didn't do that bad.
Yeah.
Right. So what was your greatest achievement? Your greatest creative achievement in 2020?
Well, there was actually a couple that like I gotta say, just 2020 overall for the planet was just dumpster fire, awful, just awful, right?
Yeah.
And on all different levels, but I think in general it was really cool to see the creative community have the opposite experience for the most part. I mean, we all had personal stuff going on that was just awful alongside the global stuff, but I think I've heard so many success stories during 2020 from creative folks, and I think for me personally, we launched our most successful, financially speaking, our most successful Kickstarter last year with issue 6, and that was, man, my goodness, that was a high of the year. But then also I wrote what I would say is probably one of my best scripts in comics, and that will be for the Nebulizer that comes out later this year in the spring. So I mean, and I also wrote the issue I'm working on right now, Memoirs of an Angel, and this issue was a lot of fun to write last year because I got to just pour out all of my frustration into action scenes, because this is the payoff issue. Like, I mean, for those who have read the series, there's action, there's teased action throughout the book so far, and plenty of good, bloody stuff that happens. But this one, the majority, 80% of the issue is just action on spiritual realm level and physical realm, and you really get a taste of the demonic horror and the high fantasy craziness. It's Helm's Deep in the sky, if you will.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is a lot of fun to draw. It was a ton of fun to write. But I think, those three things, writing the Nebulizer issue 1 and writing Memoirs issue 7, and then the Kickstarter for issue 6 was just great. So I think those three were the best. They're probably just tied, really. They were great moments.
Okay. Cool. Now, who, like, I don't know. Yeah, I may have asked you this question. I don't think I did though. Who was your we all watched Kickstarter before we jumped in. Like we were all watching, we were buying stuff. Like, okay, how do we figure this out? Like, who was the person you were watching that inspired you to come in? Like, who was the guy that you saw? I think I could pick something up from this cat and come in and do something. Who was that guy for you?
There were two, actually. It was a guy and a gal. One was Dirk Manning. Okay. Just the amount of success that guy had on Kickstarter. He was one of the panels at the Comic-Con that I talked about earlier, that I listened to and got a lot of really good advice from him professionally. But then the other one that that I think has been more of a personal friendship, and she's even worked with me on a couple memoirs projects now, and that's Kaylin Smith. You know, I mean, she has, both of them broke records on Kickstarter for indie comics, and you know, it just studying. I think Dirk's been doing it for a very long time, and Kaylin has too. But her campaigns, I was able to. I would look at her campaign, and then my friend Stephanie Menard, a couple campaigns that she did. I kind of really studied Kaylin Smith's and Stephanie Menard's, just kind of to replicate and come up with what I wanted to do for rewards and things like that. Because Dirk's was, you know, crazy. And I mean, and he'd been doing it for so long, he had such a huge following that, you know, I mean, people showed up, and he would do hardback leather-bound books and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not on that level. That's not where I'm at. And so the other two, though, and like, you know, they're great artists, and they are still better than I am and have more experience with Kickstarter, but their rewards were a little more attainable to kind of replicate and you know, do my own thing with. So, but yeah, I would say those three, but then so many others that just, you know, my peers, you know, like, you got to know people at Comic Cons and just kind of looking around, a lot of Michigan folks. Honestly, I mean, that's Source Point Press folks. You know, they I just kind of watched what they did for a few years, and then went out there and tried to do the same thing.
Now, here's one. Like, all right, so let's say tomorrow, for some reason, these platforms, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, just go away. They're gone. You know, right? Yeah. Now, what would you do at that point? And jumping in front of bus, that's not really a good answer. So,
that's great. I think the you know, I have a really good relationship with multiple comic shops in my area. We have 7 comic shops in my city, and I have a pretty good relationship with all of them. I would rely heavily on that, and heavily on my email list. I think that, going back, that is why an email list is so important, is if all social media goes away, if things like Kickstarter go away, you, at the end of the day, if you own your own domain, and you own your own website, and you own an email list that goes back to that website, that is yours, right? Like, you know, Zuckerberg can't take that away from you. You know what I mean? Like, so it would hurt, obviously. Like, so many of us, like, none of us have all of our Facebook and Instagram followers on our email lists. So you wouldn't have as broad an audience, but it wouldn't die. You know, you would still have a foundation to go back to. And I think that is why it's so important. But yeah, I mean, essentially just, you know, kicking it old school, doing what like Eastman and Laird did, going, you know, make your comic. And you know, I mean, pitch it to stores and do it that way. And then, you know, I've thought about this, bare bones, if the worst thing happened and, you know, the comic tanked, it didn't make enough money to create, I would just do a web comic, honestly. That's the thing. Like, I've always said, like, if it didn't work out professionally, I would do it anyway. And that I made up my mind before I started this. And I think that a lot of, you know, creative indie comics folks, I feel like that's where a lot of our minds are, because we're not doing this for the money. You know, I mean, if we're doing this for the money, something wrong with you. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
But
for the dozens and dozens of dollars we generate.
Exactly, man. No, I think we all have stories that we want to tell, and that mean so much to us. And so I think, you know, thankfully things like Kickstarter and social media and things like that, they you know, social media can be an absolute dumpster heap, sure, but it can be a really good place to go to. You know, you can go out, you can, you know, we can promote shows like this, we can hang out with each other, we can, you know, get to know people that you would never know otherwise, and share your work with them, and they can share their work with you. And so I'm very, very thankful for all those things, and I'm going to utilize them as long as they're available to me.
Yes, of course. Me too. I mean, listen, I mean, since this whole craziness started, I've met, I can't even tell you. I mean, it just does literally scores and scores at this point. So it's just, a bunch of people, which is
Well,
really
I mean,
cool.
you and I didn't know each other before 2020.
Exactly.
That's how we met. We met because of the pandemic, and everybody on the Rising Tide Network that I am now a part of, I didn't know any of them a year ago today. A year ago today, I knew none of you guys, and now now a lot of you are just my inner circle. You know, like you guys are my peers and my friends and the people that I actually interact with most. Especially because I've just been stuck inside my house for a year.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting how something like, you know, this pandemic and everything that happened in 2020, all the bad stuff is there, but it's interesting just to see all the good things that are coming from it as well.
Yeah. Cool. Now, who's your favorite creative partner?
See, that's the tricky part, because so far I have not really collaborated with anybody. I've had people do variant covers. I've had people, a lot of, I think my editors are the folks that I, as far as what
you rely on the most, as far as
I mean, that's really, as far as the comics are concerned. Now, if you want to talk the Dastardly Dingoes, which is the show, a podcast that I do, and now it's turning into its own network as well. We've got other shows that are on. Jeremy and Chad, on on the Dingoes, they're my dudes, man. Like I love those guys. So across the board, when it comes to comics, it's my editors. They're the ones that help me, help me actually do this thing well. And then, in the podcast realm, it's Jeremy and Chad. And Chad, specifically, and Jeremy, they both cross over, actually, because Jeremy's done all my Kickstarter videos for the comic. And Chad has done, he's done a print for me, and Chad does comics as well. So a lot of times I'll kick some stuff to him and see what he thinks, and he'll do similar stuff to me. So yeah, I think it's just that group of people. Those are my peeps. Those are the guys I go to the most.
Right. So. All right. Cool. Nice. Now, you told me a little bit about Memoirs of an Angel, right? So I don't know how deep you want to dig into that. So let's go digging. I mean, because you said you went to school for religion. For I don't know how I know you're saying that you're incorporating that into the story, but so like how deeply are you incorporating that in the story? Like who are these characters? What are they about? Where are you going with this? Because like I said, I've only read that first. I've read that 0-ish, and I'm like, damn it, I gotta read all this other stuff. So I gotta eventually get to it. It's sitting in my pile.
Well, I would say that I think a lot of good grief, that's a good question. I would say that it goes pretty deep in just the world building aspect alone. I mean, I have theology books this thick that I go through almost all the time. And it's not just like, I'm not like a denomination specific here, really. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I can only do Southern Baptist theological, doctrine. No, it's like, it's anything that, that from what I've studied, that I have seen through scholarly work, peer-reviewed articles, that everybody's pretty much on the same page. Hey, this is a thing that we believe, and this is it. But in that is tucked in some going back to like the Hellboy Mike Mignola stuff, is its own kind of folklore stuff. I mean, you go back to the writers of the Old Testament, the writers of the New Testament, especially. We know some of their legends and their folklores that actually pop up in the New Testament, and it's interesting if you know of those tales and that folklore, you can pick up on it as they mention it. Otherwise, it just sounds crazy. Because in our Western culture, we don't know what happens. You wouldn't like reading Revelation from a Western culture perspective. That's why that's where you get a lot of people that lose their minds trying to figure this thing out. But if you look at it from its original context, it was written, and you understand the genres, understand the, where the writers were coming from when they wrote it, and who they were writing to and whatnot, then you start to kind of see things a little clearer. And there's still some mystery to it because we're so far removed from when it, from those cultures. But for the gist, we got the gist of the majority of the meanings of everything, and original languages have really helped. So studying all those things and continuing to do so, it's not like I've arrived, like I'm still doing that every day for my faith, but also it's like, it's my personal relationship with God. That's what I do that for, but that overflows into my work. And so, it's funny. It's like, I laughed the other day because I was like listening to, just some pretty solid, worship music, just kind of spending some time with God whilst drawing a possessed boy in green flames laughing into the darkness. And I'm just like, I was like, I messed up. What's happening here? But it's like, you look at the Bible, you look at the things that Memoirs is steeped in. And, I've said this before. I think I even said this on this show before. If you made a movie of the Old Testament alone, it would be NC-17. There's some dark, crazy, nasty stuff. And so, like, but somehow we just all want to make that nice, polished, and family friendly. And it's like, that's not real life. That's not what this is. And so that's a goal of mine, is to just dive into that stuff in the world building, dive into that stuff while that's in the Bible. And that's in the peripheral of the Bible as well, things that have influenced those writers as well. And so it's not just, you can't like read an issue and go to a verse in the Bible and say that's what this is. No, it's just kind of all encompassed. But saying all of that, the angels, for one, which I introduce in the book gradually, because the word angel simply just means messenger. And a lot of people don't know that. When we think angel, we think, angel dude with wings, maybe playing a harp with a halo, whatever.
Or having a really sword.
Right, exactly. But actually what they are called in the Bible, if you look at the original language, is they're called Elohim, which Elohim it could mean like big G God, or it could mean little g God. So, so really when we talk about angels, we are talking about little g gods. That's what, so I want to really, so I introduced that. So when I took my approach to angelic beings and demonic beings I want to use the language, kind of get away from the word angel, even though it's in the title. So that way, what, you're using what people already think when they think of angel, and you start there, but then you pull away from that and you say, okay, angel is actually this. Right. And we really dive deep into that in the comic series, and it really brings kind of who they are into a different light, really. And so the two main angelic characters, Moriel and Akkalian, one is Moriel is I guess he's kind of your wizard type, right? So like he's wise, he's patient, he's quiet, and he is a messenger. And messages in what I'm doing in Memoirs, a message isn't just something that you deliver, words that a message that you deliver from someone else and then you leave. They're weaponized. So messages have power. So if you look in the series, a lot of times you'll see orbs just floating around, and those are essentially just balls of power, balls of energy that are messages.
Oh, okay.
And so, and we get into more explaining that later on in the series. I don't want to give too much away because it's part of the story. But Moriel specifically, we're starting to learn as the series progresses that Moriel's biggest weapon is a message that he needs to deliver. And Akkalian, on the other hand, is what's called a throne guardian. So
Okay.
he is the Batman. You know, he is the guy that goes out. He's the warrior. He's go out with the
Mhm.
flaming sword and just kick some
Right.
demon butt. And you know, like that's him. And
Mhm.
so that's his role. That's his primary role. And in the series, and he is on this journey to find a specific demon called Zexus, who
Right.
is everybody's probably heard of Legion in some
Mhm.
form or another, and Zexus is the last remaining Legionnaire. So
Right.
he was the most powerful one, and he escaped, and he has not been caught since. And Akkalian is on his trail for a specific reason. And um, in the story, Akkalian and Moriel are tasked by the Archangel Michael
Mhm.
to go help Gabriel in a certain territory of the earth because there's a demonic stronghold set up
Mhm.
in this area. And Gabriel's been trying for years to penetrate it and can't. And they have learned that in the center of it all is this demon possessed boy.
Mhm.
They don't know anything about him. They don't know why this stronghold is surrounding him, but they do believe Zexus is the demon possessing the boy. And
Mhm.
so their mission, Moriel and Akkalian's mission, is to go find the boy, penetrate the stronghold, and enter into his mind.
So how did you know it was in Brooklyn?
I was there last week. No.
Okay.
So that is the basic premise of specifically book one.
Mhm.
And you know we do have other characters, and there's actually the in the pitch there's the broken Britter witch hunter, and
Right.
his name is Jonathan, and he plays into the story very specifically. We don't see him a whole lot in book one, but
Mhm.
after book one, after the Gray Pilgrim is over, he is the main focus, and you'll understand why as the story progresses.
All right. Sounds good, man. Sounds good. So everybody go get this book. I have it. I have the link in the show notes. Go get this book. So Brian, we're at that point. We're almost done, but we're not done just yet because
Oh, yes, yes.
I got my funky questions coming up.
I love the
So
funky question.
so before we get to that, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, everybody just go to brianrodman.com. That's the best way to do it. There you will find links to the Kickstarter. You will find links to all my social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm not very active on Twitter, but the other two I post just about every day. And also I'm on Patreon as well. You can find the link at brianrodman.com. And also subscribe for the email list. We send out a monthly email, just kind of some inside scoop. We've done exclusive goodies for our subscribers in the past. We're about to do some here soon as well, as we get close to the nebulizer in the spring. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool. Now, one more question. There is now. Did I? Is there anything you wanted to discuss that I didn't ask you about, or anything you wanted? A question you wanted me to ask you that I didn't ask you that you didn't get to touch
I
on?
really wanted to dive deep into the pizza, man, and you just
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, because the next one was how do you like your steak?
Oh, there you go. I like it
Exactly.
medium rare to medium, depending on who's cooking
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's the
Right.
real. That's
Okay.
who's
Okay.
back in the kitchen. That's what matters the most.
That's it. Because if you'd have said well done, we would have problems.
Oh no! If you
Yeah.
well, get out now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So why do you like eating hockey pucks? Right?
Right.
Why do you like
Yeah,
eating
you might as
hockey
well
pucks?
get your leather jacket out of your closet and gnaw on it. I mean, that's what I mean.
Exactly. Now we've done this before, so I gotta like change up the question a little bit, right? So, and
Yes.
we might have to even exclude a couple of artists like Mike Mignola. So, so if you had your druthers about you, right, and you had someone come on and you wrote a script for your series, but you pick either one, right,
Yeah.
and you could get an artist to draw it for you other than yourself,
Yeah.
who would you pick?
Man, that's a good question. I think honestly, I really want to say Mike Mignola, but
Yeah, we already excluded
we
Mr.
already
Mignola.
excluded him.
Yeah. Oh, and it's
Man.
living or dead, so it doesn't,
Oh, that changes everything then.
living or
Okay.
dead, and don't worry about budget.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You know what? Well, I'd have to say Frank Miller from the 1980s and early
Mhm.
90s. That's who I would pick. Not
Okay.
now Frank Miller.
Right. No, I got you.
Yeah, but then, yes, absolutely. That's probably who I would pick.
Okay, that's cool. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, if you were, because I still enjoy this damn question, I've asked it to you before. Oh, here we go. If you were called up to the big companies, Marvel, DC, Image, one of these companies, right?
Mhm.
And they said to you, Brian, we want you to revitalize this line of books.
Mhm.
Okay, which line of books would you choose, or which character or line of books would you want to like head up?
That's easy. The Shadow.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I actually have a
Uh,
whole outline. Just I did it for funsies one day.
mm,
It was great, man. Like I'm stoked. What I would do, I'll say it real quick. I would essentially turn the Shadow into more of a BPRD, supernatural thing. Where
okay.
he mostly fights monsters, all over the world, and his agents,
Mhm.
like BPRD, they're all underground. Nobody knows. It's all secret.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I would do. I would absolutely choose the Shadow. He was probably, other than Batman,
Mhm.
he was the character I was the most fascinated with. I listened to all the radio shows. I read the
Oh.
old pulp
Mhm.
magazines. My parents introduced me to all that stuff. And then of course the movie with Alec Baldwin. I love
Mhm.
it. It's just fun, and I think Alec Baldwin does a great job playing him. But yeah, no, that's who it would be, and that would be the direction I would take it.
All right. Cool. If memory serves, I do kind of remember that Batman was ripped off from the Shadow.
Yes, he was. The Shadow. Let's see, the Shadow and Zorro
Right.
specifically.
Mhm.
Those two. Yeah, that was. They pretty. Bob Kane and Bill Finger pretty much just stole that stuff and put it in a
Mhm.
city.
Yeah.
That was it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Bob was what, 16 at the time?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
yeah.
he was a
Yeah,
kid, so
exactly.
yeah,
That's the thing,
exactly.
man. It's so funny where we talk about these creators like, oh, they're so profound. And this was a 16-year-old that was like, this would be cool, I guess, and then
Mhm.
pitched it. And now it's this 80 years later. It's this iconic
Right.
worldwide known thing.
And Finger, my understanding is he did all the heavy lifting.
Oh, absolutely, he did. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you've seen the documentary about it, but
Oh yeah, I did.
it'll change your perspective on Bob Kane for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
well.
jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
Bill Finger is the guy, in my opinion. He's the guy that really
Mhm.
created Batman. Bob Kane had the name. That's about it.
Right.
So
Well, I think he had a costume design somewhere in there, but I think also,
his
I
was
think
like red, and he had like
right.
weird wings and stuff. And Bill Finger fixed all that and made it actually
Oh,
be
okay.
dark and gritty. Yeah. So
Yeah. There you go. All right.
yeah.
All right. So now we're gonna move on to the comparatives.
Okay. Oh gosh,
All
these
right.
are the ones I suck at.
So I don't know how many, like, I have older ones and I have newer ones. So we'll see. I don't know which ones I've asked you because of course I remember nothing. Um,
neither do I. So there we go. We're good.
so there you go. All right. Um, RPGs or video games. When I say RPGs, I mean desktop.
Yeah.
Tabletop.
I would say video games. RPGs, although I love them, I don't have time for them.
Mm,
Video games, I have my handy dandy Super Nintendo
mm,
right here.
okay.
That if I need to I'll play a little Street Fighter 2.
Mm,
That's how I do it.
okay. Cool.
Uh,
The Fifth Element or Stargate.
Fifth Element.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Um. Oh, Disney, Pixar, or anime.
Anime.
Okay.
Studio Ghibli defeats Disney hands down every time.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
Yeah.
It. That's funny. That's one of my questions too.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Um. Labyrinth or Pan's Labyrinth?
Oh, Pan's Labyrinth. I love
Mm,
both. I love both. That's a hard one, but Pan's Labyrinth wins. Just the design of all the sets alone. My gosh, just gorgeous. But I love me some Jim Henson stuff.
Now you're a big horror fan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I don't know if I asked you this question. Pinhead or Freddy Krueger?
Oh, why you got to do that to me, man? Gosh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I guess I got to go with Freddy just because he's hilarious.
Right.
But Pinhead is just such an iconic, terrifying, scare. I think the story of Hellraiser is better than the story of Nightmare on Elm Street. But
Right.
as an individual, I think Freddy's just more fun.
Okay. Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers?
Oh, Michael Myers, hands down. Michael Myers is, in my opinion, the most terrifying, being in any horror movie. When he's done well, like some of those movies, he's a little stupid. But especially the latest one that came out a couple years ago. My gosh, it was so good.
Manga or anime?
Again, why you gotta do that to me? Oh gosh. I get anime, I guess, just because I love animation so much. So yeah, I got to go with that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Comic-Cons or crowdfunders?
Crowdfunders. That's where it's at for us, man. That's where we've had the most success. Especially in a day and age where I can still hang out with everybody via technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, that's cool. Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
These are good. Well done, by the way. These are really freaking good. I guess Frank Miller, just by a hair, though. Yeah.
Now why?
Miller. Sin City. That's why. Sin City. That Sin City is what fascinated me and really got me into what comics can be. Because I read comics my whole life, and then Sin City came out, and I was like, wait a minute. It's like, this is different. This is cool. The artwork alone you could put in a frame on your wall every page. So yeah, I got to go with Frank Miller. But Alan Moore, I mean, you can't, Alan Moore, good grief. Watchmen, V for Vendetta, From Hell, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, just phenomenal writer. I also do believe Frank Miller, because he does also write and draw as well. I'll give him that as well. So yeah.
Cool. But believe it or not, Alan Moore can draw.
I've never, as far as I know, I've never seen anything that he's drawn.
Yeah. I've seen a Godzilla piece, really nice. Really? I just think he draws. Yeah, I think he just draws really slow. So it's just, okay. But it was actually quite good. It was very accomplished. I was surprised. Yeah. Because Grant Morrison draws too, but he draws stick figure,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Or here's one for you: Luke Skywalker or Batman?
Batman.
Really?
I have him on my wall.
Okay.
I love Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker's awesome, but Batman. Now if they were fighting each other, Luke would destroy Batman. But I got to go with my boy.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange or John Constantine?
John Constantine.
Just
because of his attitude. He's so much more fun to read and watch than Doctor Strange.
This is true. Yeah. I do think Doctor Strange would probably kick his butt in a fight.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But he would. But Constantine would light a cigarette and have a witty comeback as he's dying.
This is true.
There you go, man. So then you have to ask, who really won that fight? I don't know.
All right, cool. All right, so I asked you a few of these. We'll ask you a couple more, and then we'll wrap up.
All right.
Let's see. Did I ask you this question? I might have, because I've asked a lot of people this question, so I don't even remember. Stan Lee or Jack Kirby? I did ask you that question, didn't I?
You did, and Jack Kirby. Yeah.
Okay, because that's one is it's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, next gen or DS9?
I'm not really familiar with either one.
Really?
Well.
Okay.
I mean, I know,
okay.
obviously, I know what they are, but I think,
right.
I mean, I only watched them a little bit when I was like a teenager. I guess I got to go with Next Generation.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
All right. Well, here's one that I think you might be a little bit more familiar with: Buffy or Supernatural?
Supernatural. Hands out. Dean and Sam would I think team up and destroy Buffy. Either so. And here's the thing. This is
I think they would help. I think they would help Buffy.
They would help her. However, you would give, like, even if the three of them fought, right? Sam and Dean versus Buffy. Sam and Dean would win simply because they'd go to hell and come back 12 times and figure out how to do it every time she'd beat them. So just because I don't know how many times those guys died in that show and came back.
I know. I keep what's funny is, like, I think I'm up to season 13 or so. I haven't finished the whole thing.
I haven't watched it all either. I think I'm on season 8, so you've watched more than I have. Yeah.
So yeah, but they're shitty at their job.
Absolutely.
I was like, I love you, my brother. I'm gonna sacrifice the world to bring you back.
I know, right? Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, well, here's my thing. Like, with Supernatural, it was supposed to end. It was supposed to end after season 5.
Right. That's when Kripke
stepped away after that. And so, like, for me, the show ends when that, like, if it were me, like, cutting it off right when, you know, the end of season 5, the street light flickers outside of Dean's house and it pans down and Sam's standing there. Right. I would end it with the street light flickering and cut it out, and that's the end of the series. And like that way, like, you know, Dean got his happy ending, but there's still things that are lurking out there, and Sam sacrificed himself for the end of, you know, to save the world. There's your ending right there, man. Boom, perfect. And then you found out that what's his face is God. So yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that definitely worked. All right, hold on. I'm gonna ask you this one and then the last one, and then we'll wrap up.
All right.
Terminator or RoboCop?
Terminator.
Okay, fair enough. Now I'm going to ask you the tough one, or it might not be so tough for you. I don't know.
This is the tough one? Crap.
Well, words or pictures?
This is
some.
Dang it. I don't think I can choose. I make comics. I think they both are equally important. I'm gonna have to cop out on that one. I have to say both. I can't choose one or the other. I think pictures and words are both. You have to have both. I think to communicate something in a great way. Yeah. So
okay, that was a cop out, but okay.
I know it's total cop out. I'll absolutely admit it, total cop out. But I can't pick.
Right. No, that's fine. Yeah, I know that. Like I said, that was a tough one. So you know.
Good grief, man! I think I've just stressed out more in the last 15 minutes than I have in 2021.
Could be worse. I could have asked you the what is it? The Neil Gaiman, Grant Morrison.
Don't do that to me.
Someone said that one was just killer. So you know,
that's a good one. I would have to go. That one's a little easier though. I'd have to go with Neil Gaiman just because I mean, if you look at my bookshelf here, it's just lined with Neil Gaiman stuff. So
no, that's fine. That's fine. I think. Well, and the other question is Grant Morrison or Alan Moore, right? Which I think is equally as tough.
That one,
right?
For me, that one's harder because that one's tough.
Yeah, because for me, it's for that one, I feel entertainment. So I would go with Grant Morrison.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's a larger body of work, and I think Grant Morrison's entertained me more. That's not to say that Alan Moore is any less entertaining. I find Alan Moore's work more interesting.
Yes, and compelling. Like
Alan
Moore, if I want to think about something, I'll read Alan Moore. But if I just want to be like entertained in a very intelligent way,
exactly.
You know, you definitely can't check your mind at the door with that guy. But he, like you said, he is more entertaining. Whereas Alan Moore, like, it's work sometimes. Just kind of not bad. It's just like it's so in depth, and you really like
Yeah.
it brings things to your mind that you really hadn't thought of before.
All right, so Brian, we made it to the end one more time. We did.
Cool. We're here, sir.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.
We've arrived. No, thank you for being here, man. Thank you. Oh, now, one more time, please let everybody know where they can find you or your work.
Absolutely. BrianRodman.com. You can go all the socials and Patreon and everything is there. Also, Memoirs of an Angel.
Yes.
Issue 7 is on Kickstarter right now. There is the let's see if I can do this right here. Go there, go to that bit.ly link. You can also go to brianrodman.com, click the Kickstarter icon, and it'll take you straight to the page. I'm gonna do a refresh really quick. We have 20 days left. Nice. And we are only sweet. We got a backer while I was on here. Thanks.
Nice. I hope I contributed. So
I'm sure. You know what? I'm going to say you did. You put it out there, man.
We'll mark that one as a win.
Yeah, exactly. So we are at $2,375 right now. At $2,500, we break our first stretch goal, which is a 5x7 art card of the King of Ages, who is God. So, so there we go. All right, guys. All right. Thank you again for having me, JD. This was a blast.
Listen, anytime. You know how it is. Door's always open for you. So please, everybody, hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Have a good night, guys. Take care.